Today I'm having a conversation with two amazing guests from Apple in California to dive deep and discuss some of the latest features in iPadOS 18. First, we have Jenny Chen, the engineering manager in the Input Experience group at Apple. Jenny's team is focused on making the Apple Pencil experience across various applications quick, snappy, and delightful. She's been instrumental in bringing innovative features like Math Notes to life, and you're gonna love hearing your insights in this conversation today. Next, we have Ty Jordan, a product manager on the System Experiences team at Apple. Ty works on a range of experiences across iOS, iPadOS, and macOS, including the exciting new features of SmartScript and Math Notes. His expertise in system integration and user experience is invaluable as well, and he has tons of insights that you're going to hear in this video. So stick around as we dive into the fascinating world of iPadOS 18 with Jenny and Ty.
WWDC just came off, and I think in terms of iPadOS and the new update, I think a lot of people, I think I can speak for everybody, we didn't really expect to be super excited about something like Calculator, Math Notes, SmartScript, like all of that coming into fruition here was super cool to see. And we're going to dive into all of that today. But I wanted to start first with Calculator. It took 14 years for Apple to finally bring this to iPad users. And we want to know why now, and why does it make sense to bring Calculator in its current form for us to use?
Yeah, we think very deeply about the different experiences that we bring to iPad to make sure that they're designed for the unique characteristics of iPad and also iPad's unique accessories like Apple Pencil. And Math Notes is just such a good example of that type of thinking, because we could have totally just brought a basic or scientific calculator to iPad, but instead we took the time to really reimagine how you might do math, and that's with Math Notes and Calculator. And so by combining the natural input of Apple Pencil with the amazing on-device machine learning models that Jenny and her team work on, and Apple Silicon, you now get this magical experience where you just write math like you would on a piece of paper, and as soon as you write an equal sign, you get an answer. And we think that that is a truly unique iPad experience, and so we're so excited to be introducing it now.
I actually want to sort of just go in more now into the Math Notes piece, because I think I can speak for everybody. We all just saw how mind-blowing the new Math Notes feature is. Can you actually just walk us through how that works for anybody that's not caught up yet, and sort of what's going on in the back end to make all of this possible?
Obviously, there's a lot of very powerful machine learning that backs the recognition. So as soon as you write out an equation and write the equal sign, it automatically solves it for you. That obviously comes with a very powerful recognition engine that's able to recognize mathematical digits, but then also handwritten text, because you can also write variables and define them, like apples equals 3, bananas equals 4, apples plus bananas equals, whatever you defined it as. On top of that, it also uses a very powerful calculation framework that backs the same engine that's used in the Calculator app. And so you can combine that with also the user experience that we have in Notes and Freeforming Calculator around handwriting. And together, those bring this magical experience, very similar to how you grew up learning math on a pencil and paper. And it just feels so intuitive, because that's how we all learned math.
Yeah, no, honestly, I remember back in school, if I had something like this would be a really helpful tool for me. And that kind of spawned a thought for me. So I imagine you guys thought about this and sort of the implications of this, but I'd love to know like Apple's perspective here, and like how do you see students and educators using Calculator and Math Notes in their academic environment?
It's interesting, if you look back when calculators were first introduced, a lot of people were unsure about them, right? They'd been used to just doing math by doing it manually and doing it in their heads. And then calculators came along, and it completely changed the way that people learn math and also subjects like physics or chemistry, because now you don't have to work so hard to just get a basic answer. You can focus more on the core concepts that you're learning. With Math Notes, I think this takes it to a whole nother level, because now you don't even have to think about a new way to type in an equation or an expression to get an answer. You just write it like you would on a piece of paper that you're handing to your teacher, and you get the result. And that means that students can really spend much more time focused on the core concepts that they're learning in their school.
With the new features too of being able to adjust a variable or graph an equation, it also helps expand how you even understand math itself, right? By changing a variable and its value, how does that actually affect how the graph looks? And that's much easier with math notes.
Oh yeah, no, that makes a lot of, yeah, because you do get that visual sort of look when you're doing these equations that you just don't get like either, I mean, on your iPhone calculator or on a regular calculator. I didn't actually think about that. That's actually a really good point there. And I kind of want to sort of still nail in calculator a bit longer here in terms of, I noticed during the keynote, like when you're doing your equations and you're writing and it's spitting out the answer, it's giving you that answer in your handwriting. Can you sort of elaborate on how that works and get the thoughts behind that?
Yeah, so it's actually using the same on-device machine learning models that we use with SmartScript in Notes. And so we're able to use those models to learn your handwriting style over time. Once you've written all the digits from 0 to 9 once, we'll understand what that looks like in your handwriting, and then we can give the results back to you in that same handwriting style. And it's one of those magical things because it keeps everything feeling so personal and natural. It doesn't feel like you're sort of working with this new clunky system. It just happens so magically.
I do want to get to SmartScript, and we'll get to that. But something I think I want to highlight for people that are watching, you guys did actually combine Math Notes with the Notes app. So like when someone goes into the Notes app, there's going to be a separate folder there where they can see all of their math notes. Could you speak to maybe the process of why you guys decided to do that? Did it just make sense, or is there like a bigger picture there?
Yeah, so you are right. Every note that you create, math note you create in Calculator will sync over to this new folder in the Notes app, so you have easy access to it. And we thought that was a really nice experience because you might start a math note in Calculator where you're really focused on calculations. Let's say for something like a budget, or you're planning out like a home remodel. And then that evolves over time into this full-fledged note that has links and has text and all this other content. And that might actually be more suited for notes. And so it's really easy for you to just get to in the Notes app as well. And so that's why we sort of had that syncing across between the two apps.
Okay, what you're saying is when you're putting you do your Math Notes equations, you go into the Notes app, and then you can build upon that with text, images, and all that to create, whatever you're trying to do, document or got it.
Exactly. And also, we wanted to bring the same capability in the reverse. So if you're in the Notes app and you're working on a note, and you just happen to need to do some math really quickly, or you're working on that budget, you can do all the same things that you can in the Math Notes and Calculator in the notes that you already have in the Notes app. So you can do variables, you can do graphs, you can do just normal expressions. It's all built right in.
I think one of the beauty of this too is that you don't have to think about, oh, what app do I need to go to do math notes?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm either in Calculator, I'm in Notes, I'm already taking notes, and oh, I just happen to need to do math.
Yeah.
Irregardless of whatever situation I'm in. And so the nice part is you have a lot of the same functionality in both.
And that's actually a really good point. We built this math solving capability across the entire system. So something you may not have noticed is that if you were to go and type a math expression even in the Messages app, the keyboard prediction bar is now going to give you those math results for you as well. So whether you're in Messages or Mail or even a third-party app, you're going to have access to that same capability, which is really nice.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's really cool. What I want to kind of do now is move on to something equally as exciting that we saw at WWDC, which is SmartScript. And instead of me sort of geeking out about it, I think the audience at home would love to know from you if you could explain what it is and why people should be excited about SmartScript.
Yeah, so SmartScript is this new feature in the Notes app that makes your handwritten text as useful and powerful as typed text. It uses an on-device machine learning model to learn your handwriting style, and that lets it do some really cool things. You'll notice it the moment you start writing words, and we start to refine those words so that they're more legible. If you make a spelling mistake, just like with typed text, you're going to see an underline to let you know that you misspelled a word, and with a tap, you can correct it. And you can even go further if you want to add some words in the middle of a handwritten paragraph. You can now just tap and hold your Apple Pencil and move the words over, and they'll all reflow in the paragraph just like typed text would, so that you can add the word in. And then if you want to go even further, you have the ability to copy some typed text from a web page or an email. You can just paste it in the middle of your paragraph in your own handwriting style. So it really does bridge this gap between handwritten and typed text.
I remember when we were seeing that demo, mind blown. I think I've said that already a few times in this call. I might not be the only one that want to know this, but I think a lot of people would like to know how, is it just the machine learning in the background? Is it Apple Intelligence that's learning my handwriting to keep this going? Like, can you elaborate on how that works? Is this all on device?
Yeah, so the on-device machine learning models are actually kind of building on years of work we've also done with other handwriting recognition things like Scribble. So, with Scribble, we were already able to, as you handwrite, detect what you wrote and then change it to typed text. And so we're kind of building on that, but then also the ability to synthesize strokes in your own handwriting style as well. That combined with also our text non-text grouping that we had as part of Smart Selection already, we were able to have this system that incorporates a lot of these new text editing gestures so that it's so much easier that when you're handwriting, you don't have all these like messy moving around, scratching out random scribbles around, and your handwriting can be just as nice as typed text.
Speaking of handwriting, I kind of want to switch gears to like philosophy of Apple Pencil for a second. Jenny, you specifically, I actually listened to a podcast that you and another colleague were on about iPadOS 14. So this is a while ago. This is 2020. WWDC on the Connected podcast. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do remember it, and I'm impressed you found it.
So I listened to it, and the concept of flow came up. This idea of keeping like the user's experience uninterrupted by allowing tasks like you mentioned, scribbling and responding to text without needing to switch like to touch or attaching the magic keyboard. My question is, did this idea of maintaining flow influence the creation of the calculator app in Math Notes? And the second part is, how important was it to ensure that users could stay in that like writing or drawing flow with their Apple Pencil, like without interruptions? Because that's a real thing. Like people are super zoned in when they're using their pencil. So if you can just elaborate on that.
Yeah, totally. So I feel like one of the magic parts about Pencil is that, it's unconstrained. You can write anywhere. Even when you are a child learning to write, you start with paper and pencil. And so for Apple Pencil, our philosophy has always been, how can we replicate that experience and make it as, fluid, fast, intuitive as when you first learned to write as a child, but then also how can we bring the technology aspect of it such that it enhances the experience that you wouldn't be able to get with the pencil and paper. And so we had a lot of that with Math Notes in mind where, you learn math normally, probably pencil, paper in a classroom. And we're kind of bringing it back to those roots, but then also adding this layer of intelligence on top of it and letting you solve the math, giving you extra capabilities like graphing, which, would be rather tedious with pencil and paper, or you'd have to learn the math, basically. And then kind of on top of that, at the core of the pencil experience is, this free form drawing. We don't want to interrupt you as you draw. You picked up the pencil to make marks. And so how can we add to that user experience such that, the focus is on drawing, but we still give you this extra capability to be able to go to the next level, to edit your text as you're writing. And I think SmartScript does a really great job of that, of bridging that gap between freeform writing, but then also bringing in some of the gestures like scratch to delete, pause to insert that, take away some of the burdens that come with handwriting where, if I needed to rearrange parts, normally, I'd draw some arrows, scratch it out, have all these things everywhere. And with SmartScript, it makes things so much cleaner.
So I kind of want to dive even deeper on that a little bit. With the scribble, or just with this idea of, our handwriting's being straightened out as we're writing on the iPad with this new update, or being able to paste text in our own handwriting. All of this, when we do it, it seems intuitive, and it seems like it was just meant to happen. Like it should just be there for us to do. But I know, Jenny, from like a developer's perspective, a lot of times the things that appear simple to us users can be really challenging to actually bring to life. So I wanted to know, like, for you, like, what was the most challenging part of bringing these things to life for iPad users?
That's a great question. I think maybe I've kind of already touched on this, but there is that balance between imposing on your marking up experience. I want to draw some marks, don't get in my way, versus bringing these intelligent features that, help you make things better. And so with Auto Refine, I think we played a lot with what animations make it feel magical and smooth, and the cadence of the animations that make it feel magical but also don't get in your way and aren't distracting from your main task of writing. And I think with a lot of gestures, we had a lot of that kind of discussion with design about what feels the most natural to do automatically, but then also how can we give users the kind of control to be able to manually adjust it as necessary so that they do feel like they're still in control.
Have you guys had any interesting user feedback lately on Calculator and Math Notes? Any surprising insights at all?
I think we've had just amazingly positive feedback. I think from the moment that we introduced this at WWDC, I mean, the crowd literally went wild, which was a very fun moment. I think people are just really excited. Like Jenny said, it's just this new natural way to interact, and that sort of have this intelligence supercharge what you're doing is really appealing to a lot of people. And so we've had people just be really excited about starting to use it in their own everyday workflows.
Yeah, it was definitely the feature I was not expecting to go viral.
and I think it's also so interesting, even internally, we've had it kind of go viral for us too. I have started to do so many more of my meeting notes with handwriting now because it's just as powerful as typed text. And it's just this amazing moment where I realized oh, I don't need to pull out a separate calculator to just do a quick math solution in a meeting. I can do it right there. And that is just so powerful when you have those tools available to you. So very excited for more people to get their hands on it.
I feel like there are also a lot of studies that say that, handwriting is much better for learning and absorbing content. And so maybe we're bringing back a handwriting revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And I even from my experience, when I watched WWDC, the first thing I showed my fiance was Calculator. I was like, you gotta see how cool this is. When can users expect to get their hands on Math Notes and Calculator and SmartScript on their iPads?
So we're really excited to be introducing this in the fall of this year when we introduce the rest of iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia as well. And yeah, very excited for people to get to try it and to hear what they think.
Perfect. Well, Ty, Jenny, thanks for coming on my YouTube channel and having this conversation today. And hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.